So I took the IQ test and I was like, please, you people should not waste time in calling me for this physical interview. Like time is of the essence. Okay, my watch is here. Time is of the essence. So I was waiting for the call. No call came. Like nobody called me. And I'm like, okay. Now found out that I failed the test. So I failed the test the first time, the first IQ test. I failed it the second time. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I am going to be talking about how I got into programming. So this is story time, like legit story time. So if you want to get like popcorn, tea, coffee, whatever, you should totally do that because I'm breaking down I'm breaking down the story for you guys right now. So yeah, listen up. Before I go on, if you're new to this channel, please consider subscribing to get content on tech, faith, and lifestyle. If you are returning to this channel, welcome back. I encourage you all to drop a comment for me on comment section on whatever you get from this video, or just drop a comment for me, and please like this video as well. So I studied electrical electronics engineering from University of Lagos, Akoka, Great Akokites, yes. And the plan was that after school, right, I would go into like maybe join one of these companies, them Shell, Total, Schlumberger, General Electric, all those kind of companies basically. Definitely not PHCN for sure. So I did a course in my second year. I think it was AG 206, a programming course. And really, I took interest in that course because, like, it just felt cool to be able to write, like, create, build solutions by just typing some things on the keyboard. And I obviously wasn't used to that before. So it was good. It felt good to be able to do that, right? So, yeah, I did that, and in the corner of my head somewhere, I was like, okay, this is cool. To be fair, I, like other people, did La Cram La Po to get through that course because I didn't really understand it, but I found it interesting, right? So La Cram La Po, for those that don't know, is like memorizing word for word in school to pass an exam. That's what a lot of us do in school, but yeah. So I kept, the idea behind my head somewhere that there's a possibility that I might get some interested in this later in the future, but it didn't really, like, it wasn't a big part of my plans, so to speak. So I ended that course. Unfortunately, we didn't have so many programming courses in school. So fast forward to my final year, I wrote my exams, my final paper, and then I started to think about it. Okay, Susan, what's next? What are your plans? Definitely getting married is not the, is not the next thing. Getting a job, what kind of job do you want to do? Things like that. And then, one of my friends brought up the idea of you like, how about programming? Like, is this not something you would like to explore? I was like, you know what? Yeah, like, this is definitely something I would like to, you know, try out. So I started looking out for self-taught courses, like, courses that teach you how to code, YouTube videos, things like that. So I was checking out for those. And then I came across Codecademy. Codecademy is like amazing. It blew my mind because they actually teach coding languages in like very interactive ways, in a very interactive way. So it literally feels like you're playing a game, right? So I started my Codecademy. I was following the courses. I mean, I was learning, getting, involved, getting to know what HTML even means, CSS and JavaScript. I was just doing all that. Then some folks came to school. Then they came to my class and they were like, hey, so we are actually looking for people that have this GPA and above to come join us and stuff like that. So great opportunity, right? I was like, okay, this is definitely something that I would like to do, because I think they were looking out for people to come join them as programmers. So I applied as a programmer. So yeah, they got back to us, accepted us. I got the offer letter. Unfortunately, when I got back my offer letter and I was reading it, it was to join them as a project manager and being business analyst. And I'm like, did I mistakenly fill that in when I was writing it? Because I'm pretty sure that I put programmer there, like probably in caps safe. So I found out that I was going to join them as a project manager. And I was disappointed because obviously I'd already started coding and I wanted to continue. So I reached out. We started the orientation and I reached out. I was like, hey, I'm actually interested, super interested in coding. Like, that was why I applied to this role, because I would like to code and I'm not really interested in project management right now. So they were like, no problem, we'll see what we can do. Like, just go ahead with the orientation. And like, orientation is for everybody to know, all like the different things that, like the different roles and how different departments work together. So it's really a general learning kind of phase. So you're not really doing specific work at that time, right? So I said, okay. So I went on with the orientation. Then I started to notice that some people were getting programming exercises to do, and me, I was, still chilling. So I was like, okay, I think it's high time for me to have another conversation. Fortunately, the bosses then were kind of young and approachable. You could really just walk up to them and talk to them about anything. So I reached out to one or two of them, and I was like, hey, I am actually interested in programming. Like, that's why I'm here. I'm like, I really want to learn. I'm really passionate about coding and building solutions with tech and all. So I want to learn how to code. And we're like, so you know what? So coding is good, right? But like PM, like project management, you get to interact more with stakeholders, you get experience in top level or high level processes and things like that. So really, even though coding is good, it's like you're really in a good space right now to be a PM. Now, I'm not invalidating those, like, I feel like those points were really valid. And for somebody that wasn't super interested in coding, then that should be like a good reason, to take up that role. But I wasn't really interested in that. So I understood their points, but it didn't make sense to me. More so, it didn't make sense that every other person that applied, they were all guys and they got the programming role. So I left that. I continued with, going for the orientation, as much as I could. I was, participating, even though my mind wasn't really there, to be honest. So I would go home, get out my Codecademy, practice, learn about JavaScript, HTML, web development in general. So I would go home, do that, and also one day, so one day, I heard about how there's a company that, is teaching people how to code and you get paid as well. And I'm like, wait, what? Like, what's that about? Like, does that exist in this our country, Nigeria? No way. So, I was like, okay, where's the website? First of all, red flag. There was no website. So I was like, I thought, I was like, obviously that's not true and everything. So I eventually found out that they had a physical location. So I was like, okay, good, I'm going to go see, what this place is all about. And I went there on my own. I carried my bag on my two legs and I went to go and find out, the place. Lo and behold, I got there and I saw, an actual building with people sitting down in front of computers learning how to code. And I was like, okay, this is really happening. So I was like, oh my god, like I was super excited. This was something I had been dreaming about and thinking about, and I was just really hoping to have an outlet to learn how to code and grow, like a space where I could do that. So I asked for the requirements, and they were like, you have to pass an IQ test, you have to pass, and then after the IQ test, you get invited for a physical interview. After the physical interview, you get invited for a 2 week boot camp. Then when you pass the boot camp, you would come into the company. So I was like, fine. I was like, seriously, like just an IQ test, okay? So I decided, let's get to it. I'm going to take the IQ test, right? So I took the IQ test, and I was like, please, you people should not waste time in calling me for this physical interview. Like time is of the essence. Okay, my watch is here. Time is of the essence. So I was waiting for the call. No call came. Like nobody called me. And I'm like, okay. Now found out that I failed the test. So I failed the test the first time, the first IQ test. I failed it the second time. The third time, I think by God's grace, I passed the test, and it was amazing. And I was called for the physical interview. I went for the physical interview. I killed it. As a boss, I killed it. And then after the physical interview, I now got called for the 2 week boot camp. Now, mind you, I was still, working at this place. Like, I mean, I was still undergoing like orientation at this old place. So I got called for the boot camp, and I knew that I had to be there. Like, it was a no-brainer. I just had to be there. So I spoke to my boss at the time. I was on like really good terms with my boss, very friendly, and had a good relationship with him. So I spoke with him. I was like, hello sir, please, I have a 2 week interview that is coming up, and it's a very important interview. I have to be there. Sorry, a 2 week training coming up, very important. I have to be there. I didn't give him all the details, but he already knew that I had like serious interest in coding, although he didn't know that it was a coding training. So he was like, of course, why not? There wasn't a lot for me to do at the time, so it was like I could go. So I took my wings and I flew to the boot camp space. I started the boot camp, and it was amazing, like the most intense 2 weeks of my life. There were lots of people there were a couple of people that were already experienced coding. So you can imagine how intimidating that would have been for me, being a newbie. So yeah, it was a great time. I learned a lot. I met with other people. And at the end of the 2 weeks, it was time to get, feedback. Are you in or out? Guys, let me just say that I waited all night to get a response. Like I was anxiously waiting to get that email to know whether I was in or out. So I waited all night. I got the email eventually. I discovered I got in, and I was screaming and dancing around the house. And I was super excited. And yeah, I eventually had to tender in my resignation to the old company, and I definitely felt bad doing that because I knew, they gave me this opportunity to start working with them, and I had to turn it down. But to be honest, I knew that I would be doing a disservice to myself if I had to be selfish at that point. Yes, I would just put it out there. But I knew what I really wanted was to code at that point. And I knew that if I decided to take the job, the PM job, I wouldn't be happy doing it. One. Secondly, I would be doing a disservice to myself, taking that decision based on sentiments, instead of actually taking the opportunity to learn how to code and program and grow. So I dropped my resignation at the company and started, I joined this company to start to learn how to code. That was pretty much where my coding journey started. I met new people, I learned new stuff. I got, of course, my coding knowledge began to grow there. I started working with companies both within and outside Nigeria. And yeah, really, that was how I got into programming. And that's how it's started. That's how it started. It happened about 7 years ago in 2015, and it's been an, I wouldn't say completely amazing, but there have been ups and downs. But it's been a great journey so far, and I am 100% glad I made that decision, not to stick to that role. Yeah, and that's been it. That's the story. I'm pretty sure you finished your popcorn and your drinks by now, or whatever you're taking. And I hope you learned something from my story and had fun listening. And I will see you in the next video. Bye.